Hi everyone, welcome to Vidcheck's introduction to file-based automated quality control, or AutoQC, or as we call it, AQC for short. My name's Henry, and I'd like to thank you all for joining us today. Let's have a look at our agenda for this webinar. We're going to be exploring why AQC is so important, how to ensure your content meets required specifications, using templates to manage your content, how to correct typical audio and video errors, how AQC fits into your workflow, the benefits of AQC, and a live Q&A session at the end. Joining me for our Q&A session are going to be Jonathan Amesbury, who's our Senior Support Engineer, and Joseph Newcomb, our European Sales Manager. We'll also have Guy Elliott, the Managing Director of EMEA Gateway, who we've recently partnered with to increase our presence in the Middle East. So let me give you a little bit of background about Vidcheck. We're a specialist manufacturer of AutoQC software for file-based media based in the UK. Our team actually developed the first AQC products on the market. You may have heard of Serify from Tektronix. The development team that produced Serify are the same team that developed Vidchecker. This gave us the advantage of starting afresh and learning from everything we'd done previously, so that we could make a better product the second time around. Vidcheck has a vast amount of experience within this industry and with QC generally, so we feel we're in a good position to talk about this subject and share some of our knowledge. So why is AutoQC so important? Whether you're a broadcaster, post-production house, content distributor or archiver, you need to QC the content you're delivering or receiving to make sure it meets certain technical and legal standards. Previously, QC required people to manually watch a whole file from start to finish, maybe even multiple times and in different formats, to keep an eye out for errors and monitor the levels manually, a time-consuming and therefore costly process. With the move to file-based media, many of these errors can be detected automatically, meaning that many of the old manual QC checks become defunct. It also means that many measuring tools that would have been previously used are no longer relevant. Your QC function can instead invest time in identifying important issues that can only be identified by human intervention. These older QC tools include waveform monitors, because with a file, there is no analog waveform, so the same voltages and timings don't apply with the file. Processing amplifiers, or proc amps, because there are no analog levels to tweak. And analog or SDI legalizers. If you're decoding a file to be played out in real time, for example using a video server, then these analog tools may still be relevant to perform a manual QC before re-encoding to a file. However, be aware that the re-encoding process can introduce new errors, so you'd still likely need to QC this file again. Sometimes, even a simple error can make your video file completely unusable, so it's important to make sure the final content meets all technical and legal specifications. The only way to know about all the errors that are present in a file is to decode it and see what's inside. AutoQC software can read the wrapper and headers to read the overall data contained in the file, then decode your video, decode your audio, and read the metadata. A human being can test certain elements of a file. For example, you can get certain information on the file, such as the frame size or the frame rate, by checking the file information on your computer, or by loading it into your media player. You can also manually play back the file in a media player, using your eyes and ears to check that the video and audio look and sound okay, or if they're even present at all. But there are a few problems with manually playing back the file. To start with, it all happens in real time, so you need someone to actually watch it in real time, making it time-consuming and expensive. In some cases, the perception of quality can be subjective, so the results may vary from person to person. There's also a chance that a person can miss something. Finally, there are many technical issues and parameters that a human simply can't see just by watching a video file. For these reasons, a specific QC software solution is needed. As file-based delivery becomes more common, this means that there are more and more technical and legal delivery specifications for a wide range of file formats to be met. This makes it more important to ensure that the content you're delivering or receiving is correct. If you're delivering files, you need to make sure that the content you're sending is correct to prevent it from being bounced back. But if you're receiving files, you also need to be sure that the content you're being sent is in the right format and meets your specifications. In each case, AQC can perform necessary checks to ensure that the content is ready for transmission. Of course, you could check your files manually if you prefer, but allowing AutoQC software to take care of this task is much more efficient and, as a result, more cost-effective. Let's have a quick look at the structure of a video file. First, we have the file wrapper or container, such as your MOV or your MXF. The wrapper contains your compressed video and audio, as well as the associated metadata, including things like closed captions. The compressed video essence contains information such as the video resolution, bitrate, frame rate, and aspect ratio. It also contains the video codec information, which is the type of compression algorithm that's been used, such as MPEG-2 or ProRes. The compressed audio, such as PCM or AAC, also consists of the audio codec information. The important thing to remember is there can be errors in any part of the file. The most efficient way of finding these errors is to use AQC software. So where can AutoQC software be used, and who can benefit from it? The answer is simple. It can be used almost anywhere where there's a requirement to receive or send media in specified formats and to certain specifications. In particular, it is useful for broadcasters, content distributors, post-production studios, and archivers. Broadcasters and content distributors receive or ingest files, and transmit or outgest files. They need to make sure that the files they're receiving meet all of the required specifications, and also to make sure that the file they're transmitting are up to standard. Post-production studios deliver files to broadcasters and content distributors, and need to make sure that their content meets the client's specifications and broadcast standards, otherwise it could be rejected. Archivers check and correct files they're storing to ensure that they're good masters, and check them again after retrieval and before and after transcode to ensure that they are ready to be reused. Now, of course, AQC software has got some limitations. While it can look after many of the more time-consuming and technical aspects, QC software can't replace humans completely. For example, it can't perform human eyeball checks. Let's say, for example, someone's face in the video is too red. The software doesn't necessarily know that the person's face is supposed to be red or not. As long as the level of red in the video is within the defined limits, the software is not going to flag it up as being incorrect. Another example would be if the frames in the video are upside down. The software doesn't know what's supposed to be in the layout of that shot from a creative point of view, and therefore doesn't know what's supposed to be upside down or not, so it's not going to be able to flag this either. To summarise, QC software isn't there to make your creative decisions, but it is very good at checking the technical aspects of the content. This takes away much of the stress and leaves more time for you to focus on the more creative aspects. Ensuring content meets required specifications. AQC software ensures that the content is fit for its purpose, whatever that might be. It checks that the media is in the correct format, with the correct codecs, resolutions or frame rates, or that it's in a defined configuration, for example specific bit rates and audio channel layouts, that it meets video legality requirements, such as video range, black levels and colour gamut, and that it meets audio loudness requirements. It can also ensure that the content meets the required layout, such as the correct length of colour bars or black frames, or that it's got the correct letterboxing. It can check for quality errors in the video too, such as blockiness or dropouts, and even correct some errors. You simply set the required specifications within your template, and the software does the rest. It will tell you what the errors are and where they occur. It will then generate a full test report, and accept, reject or move the files depending on the result. In addition to the common technical requirements in a delivery specification, there are some legal requirements that must be met too. These could be EBU specifications, loudness compliance, photosensitive epilepsy flashing restrictions, or other legal requirements depending on your region. This makes AutoQC software even more important as it can easily be used to ensure that the content is legal and safe to play out. Let's have a look at some of the common errors in video files. These could include artistic decisions during post-production. For example, let's say a post house is trying to make their audio really punchy. This could result in the audio being too loud or the peak level being too high. Or maybe the black level is too low, the UV chroma is out of range, or there are colour gamut errors. These errors could occur during post-production when adjusting the levels, or simply by choosing the wrong options when it comes to rendering the file. Some of the simple technical errors that can occur during post-production, or rendering, or file production, include incorrect frame rates, resolution, bitrate, field orders, aspect ratio, the incorrect length of colour bars and black frames, incorrect audio levels and loudness, missing audio, or incorrect number of tracks. AQC software can not only check for these errors, but it can also give you full details about the error and where it occurs. Let's take a look at some of the things we can check for in Vidchecker. Within each template in Vidchecker, you can turn on or off each check you want to do, and set the correct parameters within each of these tests. The checks are split up into different tabs: file checks, video checks, and audio checks. In file details, we can make sure the file is in the right format. We can check that it's the right container and codec, as well as things like frame size, aspect ratio, closed captions, and timecode checks. In the video checks tab, we can look for things like letterboxing and pillarboxing, blanking information, video levels, colour bars and black frames, and quality checks like blockiness or dropouts. In the audio checks tab, we can make sure the channel layout is correct, and look for problems in the audio quality, such as clipping or clicks and pops. We can also check that all of the peak levels and loudness levels are correct. Once you've switched on the checks you need, you can enter the required settings and parameters. Using templates to manage content. So what happens when we want to set up QC software to perform the right tests? This might seem quite complex at first, with a seemingly endless list of tests and more options within these tests. Fortunately, the ability to create and configure templates makes using QC software much more user-friendly. Vidchecker comes with a variety of preset templates for common checks you may want to perform, as well as templates set up to certain delivery specifications, such as Netflix templates or DPP templates for UK delivery. All templates in Vidchecker are fully customizable, and you can have as many of them as you like. You can edit the preset templates, or create new ones from scratch, so you can really tailor them to your needs. Simply set the specifications within each template, depending on who you're delivering to or receiving from. You can even automatically generate a template based from a known good file to use it as a benchmark. Let's have a look at the templates in Vidchecker. In Vidchecker, we have a Templates tab at the top of the screen. This will show you all of your different templates for different types of checks and different requirements. You can create new templates and copy or delete templates. To edit one, click on it. This will allow you to set the checks and parameters like we saw earlier. Then you can save any changes. When you want to start checking your files with your template, you can navigate to the Task Setup tab. Here, we can select our template from the drop-down menu, select a file, and start the task. We can see any tasks that are running by navigating to the task monitor, where we can also see the results of the tests. Correcting typical video and audio errors. We've looked at the kinds of errors that AutoQC software can find, and it's one thing to tell us about these errors, but obviously that error still needs to be fixed. Our own AQC software, Vidchecker, can help with this. Vidchecker can automatically correct video and audio levels. Specifically, the video level errors it can correct are video chroma or color limit errors, video luma, including black levels, and video RGB, gamut and legality problems. Video legalizers simply clamp or clip peak values that exceed the limits. This squeezes the range of picture contrast and can produce color artifacts where the colors become saturated, and visual artifacts when the video is re-encoded. Vidcheck has developed patented intelligent algorithms that dynamically analyze the image to correct limit violations, while keeping the integrity and quality of the picture. The audio level corrections Vidcheck can do are the audio peak level, for levels that are too high, an audio loudness measure to EBU and ITU standards, and corrected to the required program loudness levels. This makes sure that your audio levels are correct and legal. Our patented intelligent correction algorithms adjust the audio relatively in order to maintain the quality, unlike older audio legalizers that would simply crop the top and bottom of the audio. You don't have to correct these errors with Vidcheck, but one click's all it takes, so you can save a lot of time performing manual corrections. When using Vidcheck for correction, the report will highlight each error that's been corrected, so you can see exactly what's been changed. You still keep control over your video and audio, as you define the specifications and parameters, so you can ensure that it's fixed to your specific needs. To use the correction features in Vidcheck, go into your template. In the Video Checks tab, you will have the option to correct chroma levels, black levels, RGB gamut levels, and analog dropouts. All you need to do is tick the Correct box on the right. In the Audio Checks tab, we can correct our peak level and loudness checks. We can then start a task using this template. We can see the progress by navigating to the task monitor, where we can see all the checks we've done and the results. We can get more details by clicking on a task. This brings up a report of any errors it has found. In this case, we can see that it has found several video level errors. It gives us details of what the errors were, but it also shows us that it has corrected them. Of course, there are some errors that can't be corrected. For example, while Vidcheck can correct your audio and chroma levels, it can't add the audio or chroma if they're missing altogether. There are lots of errors that, while they need to be flagged, it would be better not to try and correct them. For example, if the video is at the wrong frame rate or resolution, or if it's the wrong codec. Likewise, if there are similar errors with the audio, or if the video is not letterboxed when it should be, or if color bars and black frames are not present when they should be. These are fundamental errors that don't meet the required specifications, so you'd almost invariably need to reject the file. In these cases, it would usually be better to re-edit or use post-production software to fix the errors. AutoQC fits into your workflow really easily. While there might be various additional stages when you'd want to check a file depending on your own workflow, you will invariably need to QC the file at either the start or end of your workflow. If you're receiving content, you need to check the files as soon as they come in to make sure they meet the specifications. But if you're delivering content, you'd want to check your finished file before sending it out, as well as other points during the editing process. You may wish to do some simple checks at first, such as metadata checks, before then doing further more detailed checks and corrections to the video and audio. You can create watch folders in Vidcheck to automate your tests and sort your good files from your bad ones. You can even use this method to set up an effective automated workflow to sort your files, as you can move files to different locations based on the result as shown in this diagram. For example, let's say Vidcheck is processing files coming into a watch folder. Any files that meet all the requirements in your template could be automatically moved to a different folder. Now that folder could also be set up as a watch folder, with a different template that performs a different range of checks altogether. If the file does not pass these checks, it could be moved again to another folder along with a report so that you know what needs to be fixed. You can set up a watch folder from the Task Setup tab in Vidcheck. We simply need to select the template and choose the folder that we want Vidcheck to watch. Any files that get dropped into that folder will then be tested automatically. Vidcheck integrates with a large number of media asset management and workflow automation systems, such as Telestream Vantage, Route 6 Content Agent, and Amberfin ICR, to name just a few. These types of systems can automate your QC process at the appropriate stages in your workflow. Here we can see a typical workflow scenario for a broadcaster using an asset management system. Automated quality control is one of the biggest growth areas of our industry. I'll conclude today's webinar by summarising the benefits. Auto QC can reduce the need for human QC substantially. This reduces the number of man-hours needed to check content, saving money, and it leaves it up to humans to make decisions on the more subjective issues where judgment is required. Auto QC can sort the majority of your good files from the minority of your bad files. That being said, you might still need a person to look at the small number of bad files, and either sign them off as acceptable, if you know that the errors are minor or intentional, or reject and edit them. But again, if Auto QC software can sort out the majority of your content for you, fewer man-hours are needed. For all of these reasons, the return on investment with Auto QC software can be very short, even if it's only used on the minority of your media. Of course, this depends on the cost of your QC software. Our own AQC software, Vidcheck, is very competitively priced. We've designed Vidcheck to be the easiest AQC product on the market. Now don't just take my word for that. We offer a free 15-day trial so you can see it for yourself. If you'd like more information or a trial of Vidcheck, please contact sales@vidcheck.com. You can also come and see us at CABSAT in March and NAB in April. So thank you everyone for joining us today. If you've got any questions, please now join us for our Q&A session or email us at sales@vidcheck.com.